Hi, my name is Christina. I'll be discussing the 1950s during the Great Society era. So in the 1950s, the church, as far as social welfare and the influence in helping those in need, they were actually going through a transition of giving that responsibility to the government, because during the the end of the New Deal, the government was finally starting to take responsibility for helping with social welfare and social issues. So it was actually an interesting transition time for the church, and they were battling some of the irreligious liberals who tried to basically take out generosity and humanity and the community support in helping those in need. But because of the nation's religious foundation, it didn't go further than that, because obviously the people they understood they needed to help those who needed help. And as far as in the 1950s, the perception of social welfare, many believe that it was a private matter and that the government didn't need to play a role, that it was private, and they actually depended on the churches and private religious organizations to provide help to those in need. So again, in the 1950s, the transition was starting, and President Johnson Lyndon attributed a lot to this change as far as the government helping with social welfare issues. And he was actually greatly influenced by Martin Luther King, because he said he was enamored by the way Martin Luther King handled the nonviolent movement towards ending towards calling out issues of discrimination. And in the 1950s, racial discrimination and poverty were heightened. So that's kind of what my focus is on in this video. And so the government's response to these issues of discrimination and poverty, among others, was President Lyndon's challenge to have a war on poverty and definitely tackle the matters of discrimination, because he saw the correlation between discrimination and poverty. Because how could these African Americans go above poverty lines if they're being discriminated against in the work field? So he really worked hard towards these matters, and he actually passed over 1,000 legislations were passed during this Great Society movement. And some of these included the Civil Rights Act of, I believe, 1954 or 1964, and different matters regarding voting, providing aid for those who couldn't afford medical resources. And so they really stepped up in helping with these social issues. And roles on the church were mixed. Some people didn't even support Martin Luther King's movement towards addressing discrimination. The textbook said that even his own African American denomination wasn't supportive. And a lot of change didn't come from church leaders as one would expect. It actually came a lot from social workers. They were supportive of the movements and the acts towards ending discrimination and poverty. Thank you.